Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the AJ Roberts Show. Today we are joined by my very good friend, Alex Ling, who we've come to become acquaintances quite recently. But the reason why I wanted to get Alex on the show today is to give you massive insights into the work he's done, the future of water. Alex is the founder of a fantastic company that he's founded called Aquan. Aquan meaning the secret language of water, which is what Alex specializes in, which is deeply connected to megalithic sites all around the world and is going to have a profound part to play in the future of where we go as humanity from now. So, as you're all experiencing over the last 3 to 4 years, we're going through what many call like a great awakening, which in essence is you awakening to your true essence of who you actually are. And with that comes everything about your body, the physiology, your cosmology, your numerology, your astrology, your actual biomechanical makeup and galactic makeup of who we actually are as human beings. And the work that Alex does with the structured water is for that reason, to help us break free from all these programs, heal the body, heal the mind, and heal the soul. Welcome to the show, Alex, my friend.
Yes, hello. Hi, AJ. Thank you for having me today. Thank you for the introduction.
You're absolutely welcome. So for the benefit of the viewers and listeners, my friend, is it all right to just give a brief introduction about like who you are, what you actually do, and how it kind of all came about?
Sure, I can do that. Yes. Yes, so I studied medicine way back in Germany. So I was a GP for a little while until I then changed to functional medicine, just because I wanted to actually cure people in a way which was ethically uh, uh, agreeing with me on that level. So pharmaceuticals were not, in my opinion, the answer to it. They have their place, but not in all situations. So anyway, and then I moved on to studying the effects of water, especially, which is absolutely crucial for us as human beings, because we are mainly water. We are vessels of water. And so then I studied from there also megalithic sites. So my second passion was art. So I studied art as well. And I worked as a sculptor for many years. So which I learned everything about stone, which you could possibly learn, including the importance also how stone is resonating and holding water as a frequency and creating a memory. So coming then from there to megalithic sites, and I studied a lot of megalithic sites around the world, which holding the blueprint of life, if you like. And so I was setting out then to study the frequencies which are embedded in those sites, especially stone circles. I moved from Germany eventually to Britain because of that very reason, because I was very attracted to all the megalithic sites here, and especially Cornwall. So where I'm still situated, I moved around a little bit, but I came back to Cornwall. And there are some amazing sites like the stone circles in the Penwith area, so which I'm very keen about. And so I worked very closely together with the Merry Maidens and Bosco and Un, which are two stone circles near Land's End. So from there, I spent a lot of time researching the frequencies, and we found a way then eventually to communicate with the stones and record a signal back from the stones. But I will talk about that in a little while. So, and that's what I'm mainly known for.
Amazing. So quite an interesting life then, which is fascinating, and that's why I'm so drawn to these kind of conversations as somebody who grew up just being obsessed with ancient sites and ancient buildings. Everywhere I went, I was always like, I need to go and see this place. And like even when I was in the military, and I remember being in Brunei, and we had a weekend away in Miri in Malaysia. And it was just over a weekend. I actually went scuba diving there and swam with whale sharks. But they also have a home to these. It's the oldest Shaolin temples in Southeast Asia. and like everybody else was still in bed with hangovers from the night before. But I went to this site, and I paid this local taxi driver. I think it worked out like $10 to literally drive me around for an hour and be a cameraman at the same time. And I was just like, I've always been really, really drawn to all these ancient sites since I was a little kid. And my family will tell you, like, I'm their worst nightmare on holiday. Like every we've been, I've just got a camera. I'm like, I just so drawn to all the buildings and how things are made. Um, so making connections with people like yourself and bringing your knowledge and awareness of like these megalithical sites to platforms like my own is amazing. And with the actual sites itself, I mean, just give us a little bit of an overview of some of the places you visited around the world and the reasons behind.
Yes, so as I already mentioned, I mainly started to study them first of all in Britain, and I went to quite a number of places. Also, I was always connecting. Most of the megalithic sites are connected to water, of course. So we have springs and well systems and river systems, which are either flowing underneath the megalithic sites or a part of it very close by. So I went to Arizona, went to Sedona. I visited numerous sites connected to also Anasazi Indians, which was really interesting. I had a mind-blowing experience there. Went to the Hopi Reservation in Old Arabia near Flagstaff. And was there initiated, very fortunately, was part of the last ever wedding in the reservation. And so that was a very, very important point. In 1996 and 7, met Dolores Cannon in Sedona, had a huge journey, also witnessed the Phoenix Lights,
Wow.
of course. Yeah, it was just like I always follow my intuition, and I always seem to kind of it seems to coincide with some kind of events of importance. So I learned a lot about that, and I always trust to be guided to the next kind of adventure, which is all teachings and it kind of yeah. So it was really a journey around the world, different sites, Mexico. Then I went also to Spain, France, visited numerous sites there. And I went to Turkey. Turkey was one of the highlights in my life when I went to Göbekli Tepe, which was in 2004. In that time, the excavation was not as extensive as it is now. And it was more authentic, let's say that. So they have changed a lot around. They have filled some of the areas which are actually very important and give you a different take on the history of this place. They filled it up with concrete. Then Klaus Schmidt, who was the leading archaeologist, a German guy who passed away in 2014. So we had a chat on the site, and he was extremely angry about some of the movements and what was going on. So yes, I have very good contacts to archaeologists who have a little bit more an open awareness, let's say. So I know also a lot of things happen around the world where, unfortunately, many of the very important finds of these archaeological digs are being hidden from us. They're being either sold off to some elitists who are keeping them in their private collections, or they're just been stored away because they are not fitting in with timeline, which is directed by the archaeological kind of societies around the world. So, and I learned that very quickly, that there's a huge gap here in history, and it's not quite so as they teach us in school anyway. And from that point, I extensively was researching Göbekli Tepe and the water. The water is very, very important because the Euphrates and the Tigris are flowing flowing basically on the left and the right, just surrounding all the tepes. So that's why it's called Mesopotamia, which is like the land, translated the land between rivers or the waters. And yeah, so there's a huge information there, which hasn't been, made accessible to us. So there's huge cave systems. Sounds are very important within those cave systems. And water. Water is always one of the driving tools which make all these sites actually work. Like the pyramids, you know,
Yeah.
this is.
Well, I was just about to say, like the pyramids, and you only have to look at the pyramids in Bosnia,
Yeah,
which just still produce active scalar energy. Has a lake in the bottom of it, doesn't it? Which is
exactly.
accessible.
Yes, yes. There's still water within this system, so which is incredible. And the Temple of Osiris, for example, there's another one in Egypt, which holds this enormous amount of water. I mean, it goes down meters and meters. So, and I tried to drain it, and it didn't happen because they could just not get to the bottom of it. So it's just all these kind of things around us which we are not really aware. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because they all have to do with energy, and some of them more or less either in favor of humanity. Some are more created for an artificial matrix, and that's
Yes.
in Sumerian, even pre-Sumerian time, where these kings, let's say, who are the controllers, started to really have an impact on humanity, and were manipulating us, using us as slaves, and so on. So that's something which has a huge importance with an event which is going to happen just in a few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on the subject of pyramids and water, in essence, the Tor in Glastonbury is a pyramid in itself, isn't it? And the water that's produced from there obviously comes out of the wells at the side, and that's
Yeah,
like a big staple part of your company, Aquan, which
yeah,
means secret language of water,
yes.
and how it's formed, and actually it is a big staple part of the actual products that you've produced as a result of that. Is it all right to just take us through, like the basis of Aquan, what it is made up from, and what the actual structured water does for people?
Yes. Yeah. Trying to make it as brief as possible because it's quite a complicated process. So I was always using frankincense and myrrh and gold as well in my treatments, especially for people. I worked a lot with people who have cancer and other autoimmune system disorders. So, and it's very beneficial because frankincense is a huge anti-inflammatory, and myrrh is known to be toxic to cancer. So it's kind of a really, as a combination, an incredible cancer treatment. We cannot make any promises, of course, but or any statements as such. But they have used this in numerous tests, and also have plans, Cancer UK, for example, to use a synthesized version. Now we all know that it's not quite the same, and that's because they can't patent the natural frankincense and
Of
myrrh.
course.
But so coming away from that, so I was always looking for a way because it's a oily, it's a resin, and it doesn't really connect with water. So the bioavailability in our system is limited. So it could be better. So I thought, okay, I need to find a way which is giving us the most effective benefits. And I already was studying structured water. Victor Schauberger, for example, who is was a genius. And so after his principles, I started to experiment with vorticing, using a vortex in the water to restructure it. Because when it comes through our piping system, especially when it's a tap water, we all know that it's really stressed, and it's actually very often toxic because of the fluorides and other chemicals they're using. So to have access to the best possible water is actually spring water, if you have access to it. If you don't, then you can use distilled water, for example, and you can use certain minerals to restructure it and bring it back to life. So there are all these kind of different ways. But I was aiming for a specific way because I had access to a spring on top of a farm, on top of a hill on a farmland. which is quite a pure spring in Cornwall, and it flows through quite a lot of different minerals, and so it is one of the richest waters which you can probably find in Cornwall, if not in the UK. So then we use that water, and because we're using pipe systems to bring it up and the pump, so we still have to restructure it to make it 100% perfect. So then we use the device which was from Victor Schauberger, which is like a glass device which has a little tiny arms inside which spin the water into two directions. So it's spinning it clockwise and anti-clockwise, forming a double helix. And in that process, the water molecules kind of restructuring in a way which is very beneficial to our body, because that is then you actually truly hydrating the system. Because tap water, for example, you can drink liters and liters of it, it would not hydrate your system. It would just literally just go through and you still dehydrated. So if you have properly structured water, which is pure, then you only need a very small amount of water compared to what actually the doctor is telling you. So it's like 3 or 4 liters. You only need about 750 milliliters to really hydrate your system.
Yeah.
So there's a huge difference here, and also it cures, and that's the other thing. It doesn't leave any kind of room for inflammation or any toxins to be within your system. So it's detoxing you on an incredible level. It gets rid of all the toxins in your liver, in your kidneys. So it's fantastic. It's just something which everybody needs to experience, and you feel the effects pretty much immediately.
Every British drinker's dream.
Yes. It's true. I mean, you have to do your part and cut out the sugar if you can.
Yeah.
But
there's all these people drinking alcohol going, I need some of this in my life.
So, and then I was still having the problem that I needed to connect the two. So then it took me quite a while, quite a few years, to then come to the point to make the resins water soluble. And when I started to have success with that, we immediately fused the two together, which is like the structured water and the water soluble frankincense and the myrrh. And the gold, which is monatomic gold, is like a bridging tool. So it also is preservative naturally. It also enriches the water with all the minerals you need. So once we had it all in place, then we used certain frequencies to enhance the water and the frequency within the water and the memory of the water, so that it would be as beneficial to your system as possible. So we were using frequencies like 5 to 8, and we were using the Schumann resonance as well. But we were mainly using the resonance, which coincides with the C4 as well. So which is like the blueprint of life. So from that point, we had our product, and the first thing which we actually did was, or did notice, the first time ever we tried it, and we had quite a number of volunteers who came forward and said, I tried. So from about 100 people, which we had, pretty much everybody had the same kind of instant reaction, and they could feel that the water was slightly thicker than ordinary drinking water. So it's almost a little bit like a plasma. And that due to the frequencies and the change of the structure of the water, which created something, created something quite extraordinary. So when we had it lab tested, for example, within the lab, they were not quite sure what they were looking at, but they said something which was quite extraordinary anyway. They used the terminology magical. They said it is like a magical substance because it keeps evolving. It never stands still, so it keeps evolving. So from that point, we knew that we had really hit something here. And some people also who are used to alchemy, and that's the background. I studied these kind of the study of alchemy was a big part of it, so that I could create something which was known in ancient texts. So there's a slight connection here to ether, because when you take it, it immediately works on your pineal gland. And the first thing which you notice is that you feel that the water goes down in every single cell of your body. That's something which everybody said the same. And then the second of all is that you have this slight feeling of an opening in your third eye, and something extraordinary like this kind of widening, lightness, and a totally different awareness.
Well, I can vouch for that myself. I can vouch for that from being with. I was with Dr. Joe Whitaker, who's very much part of a lot of the work that you're doing. I was with her and you guys were during the week, and like just from drinking that water, within 5-10 minutes, I could literally feel like my third eye just opening even more, which then creates that perspective and instant reaction, instant knowings, instant thought process, and my crown open at the same, like within 5 to 10 minutes. Is it for me? My third eye crown's very active anyway, but like it was with drinking this water, I could literally feel at a cellular level what it was doing to my body, like really quickly.
Yes, yeah, that is spot on. That was pretty much what I had the first time when I took it. I almost felt I was entering a different reality with it. And I'm quite sensitive to all sorts of different things around me anyway, but. So many people notice that they're dreaming much more intensely. Their perception of color changes, their hearing, their sense of smell, and that's what I had. I could smell things being cooked, like almost miles away. And I was talking to my other half, Vivian, and I said, "Can you smell this?" It's just I could smell, tiniest flowers and just extraordinary. And I noticed that the color spectrums are changing, my hearing was changing. So yeah, it had all this kind of effects on me, which I found quite interesting. And it tied in with most of the people who have taken it. Barely anybody from 100 people, I think there were 2 people who felt indifferent. And that might have been for different reasons. But so it was really quite a breakthrough at that time. And to see that all this work has been paid off and we were on the right track was amazing. Because I wanted this to bring humanity on a different frequency so they can work spiritually on a completely different level, and feel more tuned in. And also what it does is it has this amazing way of connecting people to each other, because see, we as vessels of water, our water within is communicating to other people. So I experienced also, and people noticed that, they said, well, I've taken some Aquan, but actually my partner felt the same effects. And that's when I thought, oh, it must be the communication between the water, between people. So, and kind of completely made sense. So and from that point, we produced Aquan. Aquan was born, and then we sold it around the world now. There's barely any country we don't sell it to, basically. And we hear so many incredible testimonials, not just on a spiritual level, but also on a physical level. It really makes a huge difference to so many people, and animals. People use it on, obviously animals as well. So, and we have developed other things as well since then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually talking to my friend Sarah, who also lives in Glastonbury, where your store is. Big shout out to Sarah. Give a little plug on my podcast. She actually messaged me yesterday and said since she used the cream, where she was having a lot of skin problems, and I know she suffered for it for a long time. She's tried all kinds of stuff. She said it's all cleared up in 3 days.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible. It's the Aquan. We call it the healing cream, and it's something I as a doctor, I have never seen that in my life. I mean, there are people who have all sorts of different skin issues, and they just have 1, 2, 3 applications, and it makes a huge difference. I mean,
psoriasis, eczema. the
This is
main
it.
the main the main
Yeah,
ones, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
And this is why one of the things that kind of excites me, because I have people in my family who have like um, ended up with a lot of psoriasis, like mostly because of obviously the C19 shots, you know, and what it's done and what it does to the gut.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing with these skin conditions, we've always been programmed, haven't we? And you'll know more than most, being you know, trained GP, and what you've seen and what the protocols are,
Oh
is
yeah.
that people have skin conditions, but it's being caused from within the gut. But obviously, you don't see inside your gut, do you? You don't know that you're not in homeostasis.
Yeah.
You just see the outcome on the
Exactly.
surface. So
That's a lot. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, so you're only treated at the surface level when you're just given steroid creams all the time, aren't you, by your GPs and stuff like that? And all
Well,
that does, it just cracks the skin and just makes it worse. But like this is by using ailments like Aquan cream, you know,
yeah.
it's actually it causes it literally goes to the root of the problem from a holistic perspective.
Yes.
You know, using with structured water and how it's harmonized and within the body, you know, to heal the gut from the inside, and that subsequently then literally heals the surface level psoriasis or eczema.
Yes, yes, exactly. Well, that's the point. If your gut system is healthy, then your immune system is working correctly. So, but because of all the toxins which we are taking inside, you know, so that has a huge impact on our gut system and compromises our immunity immediately. So, and then yes, our skin is one of the last, the last organ to basically shout out there's something really wrong here.
Mm,
So, and then all what the GPs are doing, or doctors, you know, they're just using an application which is just masking the issue,
mm,
steroids,
yeah.
and give other problems on the way anyway. So, and that's the first reason why I left this profession and went into functional medicine, to treat people holistically.
Yes, absolutely. And again, what I'm enjoying seeing right now, especially around my friendship circles and my families, because they've either come into some form of injury from pharmaceuticals, or they're just seeing the pharmaceutical industry for what it is because of like the way their family's been treated. So I've got friends who have sat there and witnessed family members go through the whole cancer treatment, you know, have their poor bodies butchered with radiation, and you know, lose the hair and stuff like that, then be told they need multiple injections, and then have relapses of the cancer, and they just, you know, it's all very painful and horrible for them. So they see all that within the hospital and pharmaceutical setting, and that's obviously then what's waking a lot of people up as well, um, to this. So this is why it's super important, like podcasts like this and the information, you know, we get out there to people to just add to the growing intuition that they've got around this subject, just to give them more tools really to learn how
Yeah,
to keep the body in a greater homeostatic state, which is
exactly.
exactly what Aquan's all about.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it is so important for me that, you know, it was just no brainer for me, to use frankincense and myrrh, uh, you know, with people who had cancer, and there were people who had stage 3, 4 cancer who really benefited from it. And so, but I know the machinery of the hospitals and the oncologists, you know, who are setting this in motion and bombarding people endlessly with radiotherapy. And all it does is it really compromises your immune system to a point that you have nothing left to fight with.
Mhm.
And then, plus, not to forget, they have this amazing ability to put something right into your head, which is like the prognosis of how long you have to live.
Yeah,
And is
fear.
some I do not understand why they do this.
Well, so
And
you manifest your own illnesses, don't you? Because as soon as you put a
uh,
timeline on something,
yes,
this I saw it with my own family member recently. So you know, he was given, it took 8 weeks for him to get his results, and he ended up with like turbo lung cancer. And they basically said to him, oh yeah, it's from working with asbestos like 30, 40 years ago, when we know that the lungs heal within 6 months from things like that. Again, it's just another excuse that they use. And so straight away they put the wheels in motion. They said, we
yeah,
can't do anything for you. By the time he found out, you're too far gone. So, you know, it was kind of a blessing he didn't have chemo. But at the same time, it's just like the family members who are not aware of all this are very much then just like, yeah, you've only got a certain amount of time to live, so we have to take you on holiday this weekend to make the most of it. So, although families think they're doing a very nice thing, what that does to the actual individual is just like it's pushing them closer to that cliff edge, and
Yes.
the cliff edge once they get there being them passing away, and without even realizing it, and that's they set that wheels in motion just by installing that bit of fear into you by
Yeah.
being in that system.
Oh, absolutely. And it is fear. It's
Mm,
all about fear, and that is, my opinion, the killer of it all. So,
mm,
and if people would just step back and just think for a moment, and I know that family members are very worried for their loved ones, and push them very often to have radiotherapy as well, because they're worried, so, and there's a genuine,
mm,
worry. But I've met so many people who decided not to have any chemotherapy, not to have any kind of treatments, and to go completely a natural path.
mm-hmm.
And they do the best of all of them, not just mentally and but also physically.
Yep, yeah, yeah.
Life expectancy has been extended enormously and outlived any kind of prognosis they have given them, in the beginning. So, which is for me enough proof that this is the right way to go.
mm,
By just altering your diet, your lifestyle, don't have too much stress in your life, just reduce your stress levels. Um, Many of us live with cancer anyway. It's
mm,
just usually through sheer accident that we come across a mutation which gets picked up on some of the x-rays or whatever, or we find a lump and then we get kind of in that motion where we get so worried. But even by having a biopsy, you already kind of interfering and basically taking a needle and putting it right into a wasp nest, if you know what I mean.
yes,
So disturbing it, right? And I'm not saying it's anybody's kind of decision. Whatever way you choose is what you should do. But in my opinion, and many other professionals as well, cancer can be treated in a completely different way, which is much more kinder to the system and will be much more beneficial.
mm,
So, and most of the oncologists as well, and I have met a few privately, who would not have their own family members treated with radiotherapy. So that says it all.
mm.
In a,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like there was hundreds of doctors that said they would never let their children have the C19 shots, but they were still giving them out in hospitals. So again, it just shows you like overall kind of the magnitude of what we're dealing with here with this industry and the power it has over people. But at the same time, you can't blame people for if all they've ever known is they've been brought up. And I always talk a lot about mind control and deep level programming. And people forget that when we, as kids, these little toy sets and play sets we have all these little doctor's kits in, don't they? And like in the doctor's kits is,
so,
injections and all this kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? And it's just yeah, so from an early age as a kid, you're just brought up to believe the person in the white coat, like knows everything, and especially in England with everything being free on the NHS, everyone just, the expectation is, oh, it's there for us to heal us and this, that, and the other. When it's actually completely opposite. It's a huge money making um, opportunity at the expense of millions of people's health, unfortunately. But like everything else at the minute, people are waking up to that, which is super important.
oh, absolutely. And I think that the trust is fading away as well, towards the governments, because of these kind of issues. I mean, I've seen horrendous things happening and lost a lot of my clients due to the trust they put into these kind of jobs. And yeah, I could sit here tomorrow, and still talk about it. It was quite amazing. I mean, so much hurt and so much incredible things happened. But yeah, so more and more people are waking up, and that's the point. They are getting more and more suspicious about what really happened. And even people who were kind of totally uh, within that system and had maybe 2 or 3 jobs are now wondering what really went on. So
Yeah.
there is there's a lot, and people on can see also what's happening around them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so many people have issues, health issues now, all coinciding with these jobs and what happened afterwards, and how they kind of degraded, their health degraded afterwards. And so some would say, oh, well, it could have been so much worse if I wouldn't have had a job. We hear that still. But there's only a few now who say that. Most people do know that whatever happens or happened to them is actually directly connected to the job.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. But
also
from a awakening sense, and this is one thing I've been really trying to show people, is that like it doesn't like yes, people made those decisions back then. You can't change that, but it's actually part of that person's awakening to who they actually are, to help like catapult them out of these illusionary fields that we live in inside these matrices, right? It's taking those experiences to get them to do that. So it's kind of, I'm just trying to working very hard to get people to embrace that. And actually, like that's what it helps with a bit of like liberation, because we store all these pains and fears and guilt and shame, like all in the gut or in the sacral,
that's right.
and in the root. So, I've been working quite hard really recently, just trying to emphasize this point that no one's done anything wrong. It's just, the whole planet was put into this catastrophic chaos, on purpose, using, military grade mind control techniques on nations all around the world. We're all treated differently in each country for a reason, because the homework had already been done on the templates of those countries, the makeup of those countries, like how people live and buy and consume, and what puts them in fear. Like, massive studies were done on every population. So people have got to remember, like, it's not like, oh, I'm better than you because I wasn't foiled. It was like it needed people like myself, like yourself, to be aware of all this, to be able to help people come through the other side. Otherwise, if we all fell for it, we'd all be in shit state.
No, absolutely, you're totally right. And it is also a part of a spiritual journey very often.
Yes.
Like cancer is. I have quite a few people who have cancer who say, well, I see it as teaching. So, and they just go and look at it from a completely different angle, not as a kind of an enemy, but something which they need to work through. So, and I think that's a very good approach, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's why I get a lot of people come to my talks now and do my courses, and join me on a lot of my events and stuff like that, because they know there's no judgment. They know that like they've come through this part of their life where it's actually nudged them over the edge to actually learn about the power of the mind and the body, and that we can heal ourselves. And that's what, and then the people are getting super excited about that, because they're like, well, my doctor and nurse and et cetera, just keeps fobbing me off with more pharmaceuticals. Like being able to take that power back, and the feeling of taking that power back and owning it and then healing yourself is actually really exciting, and it gets people excited. So that's what we need to kind of focus on. And it's learning about things that that Aquan does, how it all links to megalithical sites, the ancient histories and civilizations that we had all hidden from us. It all links together, ladies and gents, like all of it.
Yes, exactly. And that was part why we created Aquan, because it promotes homeostasis, but it also, because of the mirror which is inside the Aquan, it has an incredible ability actually to switch on the receptors in the GABA receptors, which also link you to self-healing. That is an incredible kind of bridge which we produced with or created with that kind of product, which is Aquan. So, and it stimulates and allows us to self-heal, and that is something which we all can do. And it's just mainly kind of blocked by our surrounding, because we are bombarded by the frequencies from our mobile phones and cell towers and so on. So that's another thing which of course is part of this artificial matrix, is all this 5G technology, and we are so dependent on it. But we can help by detoxing our system as good as we can, and go into a different state of frequency so that it's not harmful to us, and that is absolutely possible. So, but the technology, or our ancestors, they knew already that this is possible just to cure yourself by using water. So that's why many of these structures have water within, like Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, for example, is a very actually older than 2,000 years older than Göbekli Tepe, and it has this enormous basin carved out of the bedrock, which has these T-shaped pillars also carved out of the bedrock. And if you tap them, they all have different sounds. So because of the rock crystal inside the limestone. And if you submerge these kind of pillars in water, it would resonate with the water, and people would go inside, and it's like an ancient med bed, if you like. So, and it would resonate and reset your frequencies. So all these kind of things were very much part of the knowledge which they had. And that's why it's so interesting. And from that knowledge, all the ancient texts, I developed Aquan. So that was pretty much the foundation for it.
Brilliant. Well, obviously, this all links together nicely with the next subject we need to talk about, obviously, with the structured water, megalithical sites, ancient histories, and civilizations. And obviously, yourself being like half Uranian, and they were the people that used to foresee eclipses. Obviously, there's a big eclipse coming up on the 8th of April. I must add that there's a lot of fear mongering going around about it at the minute, especially in the United States, where it's going to be like obviously traversing through. People being told to wear sunglasses and all this kind of stuff, which kind of defeats the object of the whole enlightenment. As I show people all the time, enlightenment means light in mind, into the pineal gland, and putting shades on kind of for this purpose would kind of be doing the opposite effect. So there is a lot of fear going around. The only people I believe should be fearful are the demonics and the nefarious beings that reside within governments and royalties and things like that. So is it right to just touch on the eclipse itself and also the importance of it, and then we can discuss like obviously the event that you've been organising, which we've recently done a podcast on.
Yes. So it's going back to ancient times. I'm going to just quickly explain from the old Sumerians. It goes back really 14,000 years ago. They already been existing texts from that time, which talk about some the events of the solar eclipse, lunar eclipse as well, but the solar eclipse especially was quite an important event. In some cultures, it was seen as some form of bad omen, but some other cultures, especially the Arabic world, it had quite a different take. And it was very important for the kings at the time, mainly Sumerian, Babylonian, these kind of controllers at the time, even the Anunnaki. So they would be very fearful of the solar eclipse. And the reason for that is that in that time, they would use or put something in place which was called a substitute king. So they would have replacements of their king and the queen. And they would, because they would fear that within that time, the human race would connect on a very conscious level and would allow for a different energy field to come through and overrule their artificial matrix. So that was really something which they were very much aware of. So much so that they would go into hiding and would have a substitute king. And then after the event, and sometimes they would have that king in place for many months after, because this resonance of the solar eclipse is not just for the duration of the shadow, it's also within our system, within our atmosphere or the ionosphere, more like the ionosphere, which keeps this kind of resonance for many months to follow even. So some say up to 11 or 12 months. And that is a really important point, because some of them were really in hiding for such a long time. And just kind of saying what is happening at the moment in Britain and around the world with all the royals, is quite a strange thing, because they seem to either go all into hiding or kind of just leave their royal duties. So something is up here, and many of us are aware that there's definitely some coinciding aspect going on here. So after this event, after this solar eclipse, then they would kill off the substitute king and queen, would sacrifice them, and then they would take their position back on the throne. So from this, it really kind of went through thousands of years with this kind of principle. And that's why this solar event is so important, because the ionosphere, as I just said, is changing. The electrons, which are in the ionosphere, are changing the density, and it allows for different frequency to take place. I don't want to go into all the physical kind of into all the physics, the details of physics, astrophysics, but it is really like a new resonance which harmonizes much more with our Earth matrix. The other matrix which we have created, which is very much through all our electronics and 5G and whatever. So that's the matrix which is like the artificial matrix, and that one will go down within the time of the eclipse because of the electrons changing. So that field is completely different. And in that time, we all can align and connect to each other on a most beautiful, profound way through using a sound. And that sound is a primordial sound which came from the universe in the first place. And the note for it is C4. Now, in ancient times, many of the people like shamans and people who are very much connected to the earth knew about that sound, and they would use wooden flutes to recreate it. So reason for the wooden flute is that it resonates different than a metallic flute which is made from metal. So within that, you have different harmonics. And if you have a group of people, for example, and you don't have to be very sound specific, you just have to tap on the C4 note, because everybody has different harmonics. So they're all different, our voices are all different. But what is going to happen when you hum, for example, is that with 50 people, you will create a sound, and that sound will resonate in such a way that naturally the resonance will meet in the middle, and it will create one. And that is extraordinary. We have tried it a few times now, and it really resonates through your whole body, and it really opens up a completely different way of reality around you. Everybody who was involved in this kind of few tries which we did said that was mind-blowing. That's something we all know, the which is really an important sound.
Yeah.
But the hum takes it really a step further. So there is some really ancient connection within us, which resonates, of course, with the water within our system. And that goes back to the blueprint of creation. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so important. So we all are creators, all of us. And they just have taken away that power from us by making us believe that we need them to lead and to guide us and to tell us what to do. And now is the time really to reclaim that power back, mm-hmm. and be the creators we are, and all to each other. And
absolutely.
That is what it's about.
And the date of the eclipse is on the 8th of April. So obviously the plan now is for us to obviously create a link for people to be able to join us and actually join in themselves, because to get it out there to the wider world, which we'll be doing in minutes and days for you, because obviously we want as many people around the world to join us. It's completely free. There's no charge for this. This is planetary work that we're actually all here for, ladies and gents, to restore Gaia to its original crystalline template, away from these matrices. So we're not going to be bringing any energies in. We're going to be pushing our energies out as the creators. I'm actually going to be in Portugal on these very powerful ley lines, having just completed my plant medicine retreat there with a number of people. So obviously, fresh off the back of that, I'll be joining Alex and many other people around the world, plus everybody else who follows my channels and stuff like that. So we will be getting a link out, ladies and gents, for you to join us in this well, lifetime event, really, that's going to have such a massive impact, like positively, on the planet in the future. This isn't just some made up little story where we're trying to like conjure people into here or charge anybody or collect email addresses. This is actually a huge cosmic aligned event, which is for the benefit of humanity, benefit of the awakening of humanity, benefit for the restoration of humanity, benefit for the restoration of Gaia, which takes us back, like I said, it's that crystalline template and into fifth dimensional frequencies, which is what the original template of Gaia was all about before these false matrices were, wrongly placed upon us, and have been controlling us through the use of royal families, through the use of, deep state members and Anunnaki and everybody else who's on this planet, has been carrying out nefarious things on us since the day we were born. The Vatican, DC, and London and London, City of London, all connected.
Yeah.
So again, like I've said many times before, it's the most fantastic time to be alive because we're absolutely winning this war, and this cosmic event, this cosmically aligned event, is going to really take us over the edge, and it's just a phenomenal thing to be a part of. I think this particular event's going to make people realize, wow, do I want to be in this old world, which is literally crumbling around you? You only have to look down your local high street and the state of everything to see where it's going, or co-create this new world amongst everybody and other creators.
Exactly, absolutely. Couldn't say it better. That was really amazing. Yes, that's what it's about. It's taking back what belongs to us in the first place. This planet needs us as such that we are part of it in the most harmonious way. And we're not here to interfere with Gaia. We're here to be with Gaia.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, which we all need to live forward to. So we need to change this kind of attitude we have, and it will take a little bit of our own work to do that too. But this is an opportunity where we have, for the first time, probably in humanity, in history of humanity, an amazing opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And we are also aligning here with the solar maximum at that point. So the sun is extremely active at this moment, and it seems to gear up. And in ancient texts, in Göbekli Tepe on pillar 43, forgot to mention that, it actually talks from this event. It talks from this specific event of the solar eclipse, and coincides with all the ancient texts which were withheld from us for decades and decades. So I've researched it quite substantially, and there is so much indication. And Mexico, of all places, of course, to be the place to be for the solar eclipse. And the center of the solar eclipse is called the zone of silence. Now that in itself is like an incredible place. It has this mountain range in the center of it, which is most bizarre. It has an enormous magnetic field where your compass just keeps spinning. There's all sorts of conspiracies, of course, connected to it, but the point is that it's like a huge portal, and that's where the entrance point for this energy is going to be, and spreading all around the world. So I'm going to be there with a friend of mine to witness that, and we're going to do some work there with Sasha Stone on that day as well. So, and it's going to be an amazing event. Some other people will join us too, and it just has to be done. This is it. That's the point in time, and everybody can do it. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter how much you know. Everybody can hum. Everybody can tune in. If you want to change, if you want to have a positive future, then just you have to join in.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the links in that, ladies and gents, I'll put into the show notes and keep getting the links out there for people to join on the day as well. Likewise, if anybody wants to check out Alex's website and company Aquan and all the amazing products they do to help harmonize your water, structure your water, all the creams that actually help, at a very base level with any conditions that you have, you'll also find those links in my show notes as well. But for the benefit of the viewers and listeners, Alex, like where can people sort of find you if they want to sort of like tap into this wealth of knowledge and things like that that you share so amazingly well?
Well, I'm on YouTube in some ways, sharing my information out with numerous people. So I've been gone on to some shows and stuff. But there is going to be a website, and I will give you the link to that. I have to look it up myself because it's such a new website, which is about the hum and gives people the idea of, or more the kind of the knowledge about the hum, where it's coming from, and
Yes.
why we need to use it. In that respect, yes, so we can get that information out to people. It's not a problem. So
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you very much, brother. Well, it's been absolutely phenomenal to have you on my show, my friend. I'm really, really passionate about these subjects, like the ancient histories that have been kept from us so long. The how it ties in with the physics and the harmonics and everything that about us as human beings and what we're truly about. It's great to align with people like yourself at this time because I've worked, so hard myself, especially for the last couple of years, really trying to drive home the power of the mind, the body, and consciousness, and traveling around the country, raising people's consciousness and the collective, and often holding a lot of that collective energy as well. So to bring this to the forefront as humanity consciousness is raising, and they can actually accept this information and it resonates with them, because that's in essence what it's all about. We've all been kept down in these real low vibrational states on purpose, so these things don't resonate with us, and that's why many people have struggled to get information into people because their just consciousness level isn't there to be able to accept the information. But we can see it organically rising everywhere we look, the human consciousness, and now is the time to capitalize on that, ladies and gents, and bring home who we truly are, like on a worldwide scale. And the use of structured water, the secret language of water, a lot, coupled with this upcoming solar eclipse that's happening on the 8th of April. It's a fantastic opportunity to get involved in it at individual and group level. So get your friends together. If you're in with communities, get all your community together, because there's nothing more powerful really than group meditation. I see it week in, week out at my events, the power of what it produces. So this is going to do exactly the same. This is what helps us take us over this edge and away from this, pretty like awful reality that's trying to be created for us and has been created for us over millennia.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. We have also created a water specifically for the eclipse, which we infused with the frequency of the C4 node, which is
yeah,
quite incredible. So it will take Aquan really into a completely different frequency here. So it's very inexpensive. It was very important to us to get it circulated to as many people as possible. So for us, it's really not about selling it. For us, it's about people to have it. And they come in 40 ml bottles, which are quite flat bottles, so they're easy to put in your pockets. And you can share it out with your neighbors, whoever you're doing the hum with together. Just share it with your next person, the next person. So, just to have a little bit of it. 10 ml is enough. So it's 40 ml in there. So it's enough for 4 people.
Brilliant. Okay, and yeah, like I said before, ladies and gents, I'll put all the links down in the show notes so you can get access to all of that and join us on that amazingly cosmically day on the 8th of April coming up shortly. But ladies and gents, thank you for tuning in today. I really hope, I'm sure you would have got so much valuable information to take away from Alex's work, his company Aquan, what it's all about, the connection to the megalithical sites, what's the eclipse is all about coming up, that there's nothing to be fearful of. It's all about being in joyous involvement in it. And just again, it's just another tool to add to your tool bag for you to really start awakening to who you truly are, what the makeup of your body is, what the makeup of you is. understanding all about your astrology, your numerology, and how we're actually made and created and how we create our reality. But thank you so much for joining us. Please share this with as many people as you can. It's really important we get this information out to as many people as possible. But for myself and Alex, look after yourself, ladies and gents, and I'll see you once again very soon on the AJ Roberts Show.